talk over myself because that's really weird.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Look like a nigga in front of the microwave waiting for his food.
My goodness, you do though.
Okay, let me just pause. Oh, it's already muted. Look at me. Look at me. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned into the famous Dwayne's podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne. With me is a friend of the show, damn near co-host, Miss Hope. Say what up to the people.
Hello, hello.
Side note, I think they got that whole microwave shit in the recording.
Well, hey.
So today we're going to talk about niggas and necromancy. Do black people have an unhealthy obsession with death? If you follow me on Instagram at I am Dwayne's, you will see that I have several posts in my story, showing Tupac, Michael Jackson, Prince, Bob Marley, all the people that we love to repost and, put deep quotes about. Nipsey Hussle. And then we go to George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. We just love honoring our dead, which, there's nothing wrong with that. But I do think that it is a bit of an obsession. People will walk around. Matter of fact, Jadakiss, one of my guilty pleasures of rappers, there's a bar on the song called We Gon' Make It, called You Might Find Your Man Dead in the Ocean. He'll be aight though. Dead rappers get better promotion. Now, that came out in, I want to say like 02, 03 maybe. And that shit is true as fuck. Once you die, your level of profoundness just seems to like quadruple overnight. And, I wonder if it's just a black thing, if it's just a everybody thing. I don't know. But I definitely think that we do have an unhealthy obsession with death and the dead. Talking to the dead, even borderline necrophilia, which is fucking the dead. So, with all of that being said, Hope, do you have any insight on niggas' obsession with dead niggas?
Well, I do agree, first of all, that we do have an obsession with death and necromancy in general, because necromancy isn't just, honoring the dead. It's more of using the dead and the spirits behind it. And it is a Black person thing, but it's also really heavy in our modern society. It's been something that's been in here pretty much since the inception of patriarchy, but it's something that people are using more and more because people are very obsessed lately with like manifesting and getting what they want very quickly. And without realizing it, because people don't like to read and look things up either, they are engaging in necromancy behaviors. Even something as simple as, the post that you had of all of the dead actors, what have you, rappers, musicians, everyone. People will put quotes that don't even belong to them on there just to make it seem deep. So it's like they love to honor the martyr and they don't even know what the martyr did. And the issue with a lot of these necromancy practices is that it allows for people, especially Black people, to be more caught up by just another illusion because they get caught up by, this person, like, George Floyd, for example, this person died, they were Black, this is what we need to do next. When they don't even go and look up all the details, whether or not you read or research up on psyops is irrelevant. It's the fact that they keep these things alive by continuously talking about it. And it's not like they're changing their behavior or using those incidents or examples to do anything different. They're repeating the same programs, which makes it worse and makes them more susceptible to fall for the new programs, which aren't really new because nothing's new under the sun since we've moved to solar worship. But It's just the same program packaged in a different box. They just use a different person, or they use a different incident, or they use a different situation. And people keep falling for it over and over and over again because they're so stuck on, well, this is what's going on. We can't make it out of this, which is something people need to stop telling themselves. And, let's honor the martyr because they can't honor themselves. So it really creates a time loop. And I don't think people even realize that they're stuck in a time loop.
So long story short, this is the remix.
Yes.
So yeah, I definitely, and I want to definitely talk about how I was able to tie, the artists and everything like that to the people that are being shown as products of police brutality. But there's definitely a connection there. I feel almost as if like the way that we honor artists and stuff like that is almost like priming us to anybody that we see. Because in this era with social media, anybody could be a celebrity. And with that, people are becoming celebrities by becoming hashtags.
Sure.
Which is very sick if you think about it. So, you think about Breonna Taylor, Mike Brown, Trayvon Martin. Now, some of these people were sacrifices. Well, that's another. I guess this is a show for it, isn't it? It is, right?
It
Okay.
could be.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that this photo that I saw was photoshopped or not, but I do remember somebody who had a son that is no longer with us that has been murdered by someone that is considered a notorious fuck nigga. That is the reason why the streets are done. Supposedly he was part of a fraternal brotherhood, that worshipped the Dorito with the I in it. And, I think if I'm not mistaken, I also saw a picture of his tombstone. Or not tombstone. I think he might have been in a mausoleum. Something else. But I think it said job well done. Now, I'm not trying to be that guy, but I gotta be that guy. The fuck that mean?
Well, there are definitely, so you have like your psyops and you have your false flags and you have your sacrifices. Um, I will say that when looking up and researching this stuff, it's very easy to get down a rabbit hole. So whether or not you try to put everything in an individual category, like, oh, is this a psyop, a false flag, are they still alive, isn't the most important part. It's the point that you understand that this was a ritual that was done. That's really the important part. And there are Freemasons running around everywhere, all right, that are in certain positions to go and carry out, certain things, even something as simple as, which people should know by now, there are paid bots on social media accounts who are literally sitting in a computer anywhere on the world, who are getting paid to troll, who are literally getting paid to troll. That's that type of stuff. Those are your lower level worker bees, your lower level, in the Freemasonry. So when you see these bigger things that make the news in the media, because, as if you know who runs the media and the news, you will know who is pushing those stories, to pit people against each other and to get people to sacrifice themselves, to go out into these riots, to go out into the streets, in places that are dangerous, sending yourself out somewhere, then complaining, oh, this happened. Well, why are you there to begin with? But yeah, all of these people, and later on stories end up coming out where you find, like you said, this person was, related to this person. This person was a part of this, house and what have you. They're just all connected. So it shouldn't be, but it is to some people. It shouldn't be a surprise at this point when you see those things come out later and you see things like, job well done, or you see things like, he was a good brother, or whatever way they might phrase it. That's kind of them poking it in your face like, oh, they're not going to get it anyway. They're just going to think that this is something else or pass it off, which is unfortunately what most people do. And if you present information to people where they can kind of connect the dots for themselves, they automatically reject it. So Is it working? I mean, yeah, it depends on who you're trying to get.
I mean, it's like this. It's like you got a cousin, y'all kids, you got a cousin who's bad as hell, but no matter what, they could do no wrong in the eye of their parents.
Mm.
So, they say some crazy shit. You respond to it, was like, look, you punch that nigga in the mouth. He said something wild to you. You punch him in the mouth. He cried to his mom's or whatever. Nah, you cry to your dad, you're gonna get punched again. So you cry to your mom's or whatever. And, you know, he's like, but he said, He's like, he didn't mean that. Say sorry. And he's just looking at you like with the thriller look, like, yeah, like, you
Right.
know what I'm saying? So it's really like that. It's so, I'm not gonna say borderline disrespectful. It's like super disrespectful. It's like,
Yeah.
yo, like, as someone that used to prank in my younger days and stuff like that, it's freaking gold. It's so blatant. Like if you ever got one over on somebody at some point or another, or at least
Yeah.
try to, you know what I'm saying? Some
Yeah.
tell shit. Like you'll notice that you can see it clear as day. You can see it clear
Mm.
as day. So, um, I guess you said that this kind of dates back to the rise of the patriarchy or whatever. Um, in regards to like the rituals and the sacrifices and stuff like that. I know that I'm pretty sure that predates like written history for the most part.
Mm.
But based upon like your knowledge, do you have any insight you want to share on that? Like the how sacrifices and necromancy kind of run tandem?
Yes. So I'll also go ahead and bring in agriculture because that ties into with with the necromancy and sacrifices. So a lot of vegans like to preach about eating living foods. All right, well, what does that really mean? What does it mean to put something living inside of your body? Okay, so take it back to agriculture, which started around the same time as patriarchy and solar worship, because that's when we started needing the sun to grow our what they're calling food. Now taking over from the meat. So, in order to nurture the ground or to give nutrients to the ground, something has to die. Okay. The dirt soil is full of decaying material. Okay. Worms in the soil eat the soil. It goes through their body, they aerate it, and then what comes out is their waste. They eat the dead, decaying leaves. Okay. Insects, same thing. Figs, I'm sure some vegans may not know this, but figs, when they go inside, or excuse me, wasps, when they go inside the tail end of the fig, the female mosquito dies in there. So in that fruit is going to have insect DNA. So the necromancy is literally embedded in agriculture. It is in our agriculture. You cannot have these living things without something dying and without dead, decaying material feeding it. So the rituals come into play because agriculture itself and the consumption of a lot of these spliced and diced and altered fruits and veggies, like we were saying on the other podcast, when they go inside of you, they take over. That in itself is a ritual. If there's something in your body that is fighting for life, okay, which they compare to meat, which I mean, you really can't, because that's not fighting for its life. Once it's dead, you consume it, it's good, you get all the nutrients. There's nothing in your body is going to be like, oh, this shouldn't be here, or it's going to digest properly. But when you ingest plants, they're going to take over. They oxalate. That's one of the reasons why people get kidney stones. It's the oxalation from a lot of the plants we consume. So that's one of the rituals that we participate in every single day that we don't realize. When we do these hashtags, we don't even think about who's starting these, because that's one thing I've always thought about when I see a lot of these hashtags circulate, or how quickly we find out about somebody, dying. It's like as soon as it happens, it's on the news, or somebody's recording it, which is very, very creepy and dark as well. And that's another thing too, people being desensitized to seeing that. There was a whole period, I think like 5 years ago, where every other day was some type of police brutality, video. That is necromancy ritual. People got so desensitized, they started sharing the videos without realizing, hey, maybe I shouldn't be putting this type of stuff on myself or on anyone else who sees it. Because that was also in the time where I don't think Twitter gave you the ability to pause videos cameras yet. So like they were
Mhm.
just on auto. Yeah, they were just on autoplay and there was nothing that you could do about it. So I mean, the programs just repeat themselves. People just really have to sit and think for themselves and think about what's going on, but they're so distracted by being, what do they say, down for the culture in the community. And if you don't do these things, you're ostracized. And if you try to explain otherwise, you get kicked out. Like you said, the child, they can do no wrong. Um, but I mean, at that point, you just kind of have to not care. There's a certain point where you just have to not care and do you anyway, because are you going to go down and participate in all these rituals, or not? There are enough people participating to where it will be okay if a couple of people don't participate. And I mean, you can never get full consent ideally for anyone anyway. So only some of these rituals are going to come to full fruition. But anyway, that being said, that's how they tie in the necromancy together, really through the pool of emotions and everything like that. Because if you can get someone emotionally riled up, they're not going to pay attention to the logic. They're not even going to want to receive the logic. They're going to just feel how they feel, and you can't tell them otherwise.
That is true. I mean, I've seen even stuff. I used to work in customer service, and I don't know why the hell I did that, but I used to work with cell phones and stuff like that, and people love their pictures. That captures the soul, as they say in those scary movies and shit.
Mm.
So there's countless times where there was somebody's like, I just took a picture. I have a picture of me and my grandmother in a hospital. She's like hooked up and all this other stuff. I just need that to come over. And I'm just sitting there like, you don't got no other picture that's more flattering of your grandma?
Yeah.
She over here hooked up and shit, looking like a carburetor, and you want this is what this all right, whatever. Because I understand that, people it's so embedded in the culture that you can't even like unless you step outside of yourself and look at it for what it is, you can't see it. It's so natural. It's like breathing. It's like eyebrows or some shit. Like it's just so
Yeah.
natural. So, I've never gotten the concept of that or like taking a picture of somebody in the casket. Nigga, why?
Right. Yeah. Like who's that for?
Yeah. Honestly, like the last funeral I went to, yeah, it was the last one I went to. I didn't even make eye contact. I couldn't even look at I just refused to. I just have, the memories of them in real life, you know what I'm saying? They stopped by to visit a nigga, a couple days after. So we made peace and all that. But yeah, like I just cannot dwell on that because I feel like it does something to your psyche and it makes you, I don't know.
I
I'm trying to
mean,
figure out what the end goal is with this whole thing.
it definitely does. And the burying of bodies is also a part of that too. Because before we used to just, burn our bodies. That was pretty much expected or, put them in the water or something like that. But putting a body underground, um, it also feeds into the necromancy and it ruins the soil, honestly. So going back to agriculture and everything like that, the digging up the ground ruins the soil, but then the body replenishes the soil through its nutrients and everything like that. But that's just not how we used to perform ceremony in death. So going to funerals, I've only been to two in my life. One was a little girl. And I didn't know the little girl. I was there to support a friend. And seeing that, like they had an open casket funeral. The second one was my grandma, and I don't think I looked in that one. But yeah, the first one, I just still remember that image of that little girl in there. And I was, of course, like way younger then too, early teenager, and you just don't forget that image. You can't forget a mental image of a still, not even to go into details. But that is definitely something that imprints on our psyche too, because you don't forget that. You don't forget that visual, and the practice of organ donating as well has to do with that. I know, or some people should know, whenever they take away organs, the people who get the new ones, they say they have memory of that person because you have the blood cells have memory. Okay, our cells have memory. All cells, plant cells, animal cells, whatever. Our cells have memory in them. So whenever you are transferring blood transfusions, all of that, you are going to get a little piece of that person. So people who are organ donors, it's not any better. You're still feeding back into that. You're willingly at that point feeding back into, that market of necromancy. And they make it sound good. Of course, they make it sound real nice. Oh my gosh, people who are dying can get this and that. I mean, what's the word? Not survival of the fittest, natural selection. I feel you, but I don't know, man. I'm iffy about surgery anyway. That's my whole little thing, a whole little spiel. But also there are also all these dark markets where people literally go back and dig those bodies up, because people have to think too. There is no way, with all the people that have, let's just say even in the past 20 years, all the people that had died, y'all really think that they buried everyone underground and all those caskets are still there? They'd have to stack people on top of each other after a certain point, because there's not enough graveyards for all of that. So that's another practice that people don't realize that they're playing into, because they don't know what happens after the fact, and they don't want to look it up because they don't want to hear the scary, gory details, or they don't want to think about something bad like that happening. Because that's the first thing people always say. Oh, why would they do that? Why would they do that? Okay, well, give me a reason why not. I can think of 10 reasons why they would. You tell me a reason why they wouldn't do this, other than something emotional. And it's usually, oh, because that's bad. Okay, but we're dealing with people who don't have a concept of good and bad. So what is bad really?
Exactly. The same thing with and not to get off topic. I really don't go off on a tangent, but this is some shit. The same thing that what happens to the fetuses after they get yanked from the womb of a mother or a would-be mother. No one asks what happens after that. It just gets disposed of, and no one, same shit. And they end up in somebody's Dasani water. So
yes, I mean, that's not super far off topic. There was that. What's funny is the article's gone now because I went to go click on it, but there was that Planned Parenthood article where they admitted to selling the, things to to scientists and whatnot. So that's still pretty on topic.
Yeah, so it's just so woven into society that you really can't, like, I don't want to say live without it, because that's such an easy pun, but fuck yeah. Damn. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is just me going off of like muscle memory of all the like nigga lectures I've listened to in my life. I think with all this stuff is definitely rituals, especially with like celebrities. And the more people that mourn or like, spread the word, or I even heard in like the African traditions is that, you don't die until someone stops talking about you. So we're keeping these people alive per se. And then, with everybody mourning and putting energy towards it, that's being harvested for a ritual. And that's why with, celebrities or I think when Prince died, something happened. Like it either stopped raining or it kept raining or some shit like that. It was something, I don't know. Where like someone that's like a monumental figure, once they pass on, it's like you can like feel it in the air, like the world is different almost. And it's just, I really feel like it's by design, and I think it's because people are feeding into that. There's no reason why, as somebody that was born and raised in New York, I felt some kind of way. I felt more upset about DMX passing than I did for some other niggas that, I've known in high school. But he was very influential, and that's the platform that he was given. And then, everything else, they humanize him. And, honestly, like, listen to his album, he knew what time it was. He knew that was the last thing. He knew, like, they probably came up to him like, look, player, I know you can't really rap like that no more, but either you make this hit that I know you can't perform, with all these features on it, and you make a classic, or we gonna murk you and then make it do numbers without you just based off your death, because dead rappers get better promotion, and that's what the fuck happened. So it's and then also, I mean, I do think there is a part of it that is that people are aware of. I do think that after a certain point, you can reach a level where it's just like old people. I think that you can choose whether you want to wake up the next day or not.
Mm.
You know, you be like, all right, just got my teeth fixed. You know what I'm saying? My head's good. My hair's done. Hey, I'm ready for the casket. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then
Right.
other people, I feel like, you know, they don't want to let their loved ones down, so they just keep fighting through it, and you know, they start losing their mind and all other kinds of crazy shit. So I do think that death is, or one is, it can be considered a very tough subject to talk about, but I mean, you got to talk about it at some point, you know.
Mm.
And I think the way that it's been commodified, like everything else, you know, is just, it is what it is. Um, hmm. So I'm about to ask you if you have any white friends. But now, I do know in Latino culture, because there's no such thing as Hispanic,
Mm.
that they're very big on necromancy as well. Very big on that shit. The Dia
Mm.
de Muerte, whatever the fuck that is.
Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
come on, say what. So, you know, they're very big on that. I actually went to Mexico and I saw all of that. I was like, oh yeah, y'all niggas are into that shit, like hard body. Okay. You know, I think they're more in tune with that. But as far as I'm trying to think of the very few white friends that I have. Yeah, probably. You know, think about, you know, the what is it, the Committee of Skull and Bones and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So they have their own thing too. But would you say that this comes with black people unknowingly mimicking white culture? Or
Um, no, because I don't blame white supremacy for a lot of the issues we have. A lot of who's controlling what is going on are bush tribes and are people over in the other side, the Caucasians part of that word, Caucasian, but that is another topic. So no, I just think that after a certain while of being duped and being under spells from the people who are actually casting the spells over us that they don't want to believe and admit because everyone wants to swear that they're, or rather we're convinced, we've been so heavily convinced that we are the bastards of Africa, instead of actually looking into who we actually are. And because of that disconnect from who we are, we've just adapted what was given to us. Um, and it's given to us to help further and maintain the spell or the ritual and whatnot. So no, I don't blame white supremacy or white people or anything for it, because honestly, over here, the people who are in America, we call Americans, they being duped too. And the second that, and that's another thing that a lot of black people don't want to sit and analyze, because they have this disdain and hatred for white supremacy so much, because that's what they've been fed. That's what the media, and that's another thing too. These woke people will be okay and down with, questioning the media when the media feeds them something to pit them against, white supremacy. They eat it all up. So it's either the media is being controlled or the media is not being controlled. Why all of a sudden is the media pushing that? Why all of a sudden was the media talking about police brutality en masse? So it's just interesting to me how people pick and choose when they want to accept the media, just like when they pick and choose when they want to accept what they call white man science to promote their veganism. But then when we use the same science to tell them, here's the nutrients in meat, they want to ignore it. But no, if people just, and this is something that people really got to sit with themselves and analyze, we're being told the same things. We're being told that we are each other's enemy, when who's really pulling the puppet strings is who you think is your best friend. The quote, what is it? Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Your enemy's real freaking close, but you don't want to see that it's your enemy because of the emotional aspect and tie to it. So no, but there are cultures who are the ones who gave us these cultures that we are following, these rituals that we are following. Yes, it was given to us, but no, I do not blame white supremacy.
great answer. Only white supremacy that I acknowledge is when they can run in the cold with shorts on.
Listen, because I can't do that. When the girls at college would have the short shorts and the boots and the hoodies, I was like, y'all got it. We can be friends though, but y'all got that outfit.
Yeah, but when the sun comes out, it's time to flourish. So,
Yes.
and I mean, I've been in that era where I've you wake up a little bit and then you start hating your less melanin brothers and sisters and all this other stuff. And I mean, there is definitely a cultural disconnect, but we both been lied to. And instead of, acting like like two side chicks fighting over some nigga, bring it back to the source.
Oh my goodness.
This is all off the top. But yeah, that's definitely what it is. I mean, they do things that I do not understand. And I'm pretty sure I do things that they don't understand. But, we have been fed similar narratives and also been told, bad things about each other. I mean, and it's so a part of their culture to the point where I can't even really say that. I actually just got told the other day, an old podcast used to be a part of that I shall not mention for obvious reasons. I said some pretty wild shit, and I just need to keep that in the back of my mind in case that would blow up. So, so yeah, we will not mention that on this lovely channel. They also, monitor or whatever. So, but it is definitely something that I think we need to sit down about without the emotions, without referencing slave movies and all this other stuff. And I've gotten to the point where I realize that everything must be greenlit. Excuse me, that's the right way to say it.
Yeah, it's green.
I got to practice my.
Look, it's okay.
So if you think about how they talk about things, and a lot of it's half truths, how we was kings or whatever, or how the future is female, or other things like that. They're building you up for something. They're creating division for a reason. Like I even go as far to think that society isn't the patriarchy that we think it is, or that we're being told that it is.
For sure not.
It's definitely the haves and the have-nots, and everything else is just a distraction. It's just a bunch of bullshit to reach the final one, which is classism and whatnot. So, are we off topic? I think we are.
Well, no, because like I said earlier, all of this still ties back to necromancy practice and rituals. Because it's not always just like, oh, we're worshiping dead stuff in the ground. It's keeping dead ideas alive, like, pitting people against each other instead of just sitting and having a conversation and finding information out for yourself. So no, it still all ties in just when you understand, because people also have a misunderstanding of death too. They think of it as this, end all be all, oh, terrible thing. But no, still on topic to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's looked at as, even like some of the woke crowd says, like, it's they transitioned, I'm actually looking up the etymology of death right now. And what does it say? Dude, which I guess is Dutch. In German, it means Todd. English is die. Old English, death, Germanic origin, related to Dutch, dude, also to die. Okay, what else does this mean, my nigga? See, this is why I don't do shit live.
I mean, it does mean to die. It's more of what the understanding of. This goes to something else. I mean, we have multiple bloodlines on here. We have the bloodlines that, I don't want to use the word reincarnated, but are from, the depths or the waters here. And then you have the ones that are basically foreign invaders. And it's really them that are worried about death because they don't come back, So without going, to our far topic, because that will take it a little bit too far. That's kind of what it is death is different really for everyone in their interpretation. So they created a fear around it for, us, so that we treat it like theirs, like with the burying and everything like that. Underground, when we used to, burn the bodies or send them in the river. It's just changing our idea about how we used to handle our ancestors who have passed on, or our family members who have passed on. So it's kind of the fear behind it. But I will tell you, fun fact, that Black and white have same etymology, bright. So, but there's a reason why that, but that's another topic. But
yeah, shit, vanilla black.
It is. Vanilla is black.
So, and then you open up chocolate, that shit is the actually cacao thing, that shit's white.
Yes.
Little
things. Lots of word games in play. Etymology, and I will plug this in real quick because etymology is important, but you have to go far back as the word can go and look up the roots that make up the word, because there's too many of the Moors and all these other woke groups who stop at the 1800s, which is stupid to me because that's before we claimed slavery was anyway. So why would you stop when you claim the quote white man made the words over again? So go further back, go further back to where the words actually started and broke down, and you'll find a lot of information. But folks want to stop at the 1800s, like that was the glory days for us or something. Like, no, that's when shit was really getting popping. Like,
yeah, I think that people are lazy and halfway woke, which is crazy because we have the internet, so you don't really have to be lazy. Like
the whole internet.
I mean, before the internet, people had grandmas and stuff like that in the library, and grandmas.
Folks don't listen to their grandma. They think our ancestors are mistaken and just didn't know what they were doing.
Someone said I can't see on live. Yeah. Man, fuck that nigga. What was I saying? Yeah. Also wanted to touch base on like the whole concept of talking about ancestors and talking to ancestors and everything like that, which is also a form of necromancy, which, when I looked it up, it just basically said like death magic. Yeah. More or less. I guess that's like the bare bones definition is probably more, but yeah, I mean, is that kind of like tying to the same thing? I mean, are there levels to this dead shit or?
Yeah. So with the ancestors and creating the altars, what I found interesting when I don't ever say in that world because I never really got into a lot of these things. I was just kind of interested. So I would hang around people who were knowledgeable and, ask them questions. But what I find interesting about the whole altar thing with people speaking to their ancestors is it's always because they want something. They treat their ancestors like a genie in the bottle or something. They lay out the altar, feed them, and then ask for something in return. So let's say your ancestors are floating around and, here because they weren't buried or whatever properly. Why aren't you trying to figure out how to let them go? Why aren't you communicating with them to figure out what they want or what they have to say? So if you're going to do this, why is it this take thing and this take aspect to it? So that was one of my main core issues with that that concept and that practice is just very selfish. It was just very about you and what you want to manifest and what you want. I mean, it's just about getting stuff. Like at the end of the day, it's about stuff. It's about money. It's not about anything where it's like advancing yourself. You're not asking, grandma, hey, what kind of skills did you have? You're like, hey, grandma, can I fed you this watermelon, so help me manifest my business. It's just very disrespectful to me, and I think it's very disrespectful how a lot of people spoke about their ancestors in these new communities, trying to find these new tribes because they just swear up and down that everything that their family did in the past is wrong, instead of asking questions. A lot of these people, their relatives are still and were still alive at the time, but they got so caught up in these rituals and these ideas or this concept of wanting to be a part of a tribe that they just completely abandoned themselves. So that's just my issue with that. And like I said, if our practices used to be something else, why don't you ask your ancestor what it is they want? If they're coming to visit you, especially if it's something repeated, at that point, somebody wants something. If someone's coming to your door every day, it's because they want something, not because they're just coming here to say hello, especially because I'm pretty sure that they don't just have visitation all open in the afterworld and they're just coming because they just love you so much. Like, I'm pretty sure there's things to do. So I just don't understand why people don't think about that aspect of things, especially if they know and are aware and are convinced that we have been lied to. And then a lot of these practices too don't come from their bloodline. They're practices that they like, especially voodoo, for instance. They swear that, that was our original, blah, blah, blah. Look up what voodoo actually is and what it does. It's not a power within. It is something that you have to take from people. Someone's got to be your puppet. You have to be drawing the energy source from somewhere else. And personally, I can't speak for everybody else, but personally, I would rather have the power within me so that I don't have to keep depleting myself to be a vessel for some spirit, to get what money, things that I could have just worked to get here and there. So that's another issue, is that voodoo is one of those necromancy rituals that people practice because we've been told, oh, that's our African spirituality, blah, 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 blah. When it's not even something that your bloodline practice. People have a lot of self-hate and they're very afraid to look at their own bloodline because they just don't. I mean, I don't know what it is. I know for some people and for myself originally, it was because what if I don't like what I find? Or what if I just never find anything? I mean, okay, but start. Because one thing I do know, as far as, what my family told me, because they did keep somewhat of a record, is that we don't have any traces in Africa. And a lot of people did start to think, hey, the story they tell us of how we got here doesn't make any sense either. That's a necromancy ritual too, thinking that most of us died. And so we have to, push because, we have death in our blood and trauma in our blood and all of this, which causes people to perpetually create those traumas without even realizing it. So, yeah, I don't really care for the altar or the bringing in of the ancestors. If they're coming, that's cool, but see what they want. How selfish to always ask for something.
Yeah, came all the way from the other world to visit your stinking ass. You gonna ask me for something? Now, I will also say that I've heard from someone that I follow on Twitter. I did meet her in real life one time too. Cool peoples. She more so practices hoodoo, and she had mentioned that to be very mindful of talking to ancestors, because who you remember when they were alive may not be who they are now. Mm. And I've seen articles of people that will play with that stuff, and some white chick ended up in a bathtub or some shit like that, calling one of them people up. And I remember reading the name. I was like, that's the nigga from Goldeneye. Like, yo, but yeah, it's a lot of things that I guess can't be explained by science, maybe, but it's definitely some things that people need to not play around with, especially if you don't know what you're doing.
For sure. And I will say that hoodoo is definitely what people should look into. It's different, and this is how they played with the English language. So the English language isn't a curse. It's one of the oldest languages, comes from Semitic and the Sea People's language. But what they did over time when they took it and adapted it and added all these letters, they changed the meanings of it. So, and they would kick little letters out here and there. That's the trick with the homophones and homonyms. I don't know if y'all remember learning that at school. If you do, go look it up. Especially homonyms. And that's how people, got caught up, especially when written language came about, because that's another necromancy thing, killing the trees for paper to write lies. But yeah, it's very dangerous to just be playing with stuff that you don't know, because the spirit realm is real. And I was shocked when all this witch stuff came out and people were just going to Google, looking up rituals and just performing them. And I'm like, you have no idea anything about that. And people don't research anything. They don't look anything up. And I don't know how they got the misconception that because all this information was being revealed, that people are waking up. If they're giving you something for free, there's a price. That's just the rule of thumb. If someone, your enemy, quote unquote, is giving you something for free, there's a price. Why do you think they're releasing all of this information? Okay. Because most of it is going to possess you, muster your spirit, whatever. Research that stuff. And then most times you'll realize, hey, or make up your own if you're going to do anything, but just don't take something that you see off of Google that someone else made and go perform it. You know, that realm is real. Like, mm.
And the thing is also that same media that we're talking shit about, they'll show you in plain sight, you know, through different shows and stuff like that. I think it was over the winter, me and my wife would watch a show called The Order. And it's basically about witches and werewolves and all kinds of other shit like that. But pretty much everything that involved magic came with a sacrifice. In fact, before they would do a spell, they would cut themselves. Some real white people shit, but they cut themselves, and then they're able to like perform stuff, you know. And that's, you know, it's everything. Ain't nothing free. Ain't nothing free at all. So, so I guess where do we go from here in this? Should have called this episode "Dead Ass." Like where do we? I mean, if someone is noticing, you know, yeah, I have a lot of Biggie t-shirts, you know, I have a lot of Tupac quotes. I got another man tattooed on me, you know, that I never met before in my life. And, you know, maybe this wasn't a good idea. You know, I think I'm talking to my grandma, but there's one time she sounded like somebody else, and I don't know what's going on. Like, what do we say to these people?
So, for the person that has a grown man tattooed on them they never met before, I can't help you. I can't help you with that one. But for the people that know, because a lot of people honestly know deep down that they shouldn't be messing with this stuff, but they're doing it because they feel pressured by their culture, or they feel pressured by friends or media, whatever. Leave that shit alone. Okay. Just honestly, I wouldn't even say go start researching and go straight down the rabbit hole. Deal with you first, because that's really one of the issues that people have. They will ignore themselves and go and try to heal the community, sell products, especially men. They will skip their responsibilities and go to community saving programs. Meanwhile, me and one of my friends was saying earlier, you got, you know, your baby mama at the home and you are not taking care of your child. Like, why do people feel like they need to go without first? So leave all of that stuff alone and worry about yourself first. And I don't even mean your blood. Just start with some simple self-love, because a lot of people really do not like themselves, and they don't, you know, whether it's for mistakes that they made, whether it's for, you know, how their mom turned out, but and get some understanding as well. As most people, I'm not saying some people didn't have real childhood trauma. Of course, some of us did. Of course, some of us, you know, really had things. But a lot of things we replay in our head and we make it worse and worse and worse than it probably really was, because we're adults and we have a little bit more cognition, I guess, or for lack of a better word. We think about it deeper than we thought about it then. So a lot of us create these traumas in our bodies, okay, by bringing things back alive that happened. And then you have these grudges that you claim you don't have with yourself or other people. Start there. Start with yourself before you try to do any rituals, before you try to do any of this other stuff. Start with yourself, get your personal shit together. Okay. And then just start researching. Like, people need to start reading and researching what they are doing before they just jump into something and really hurt themselves. I mean, even it doesn't have to be something simple as this, something simple as working out. You can't just jump on the, you know, lat pull down and pull 260, you're gonna break yourself. So you need, it's everything. You need to research and sit and really think and trust your own intuition, because there's so many people who are doing things that they know they feel wrong about. They know they have no business doing, but because they don't know where to start, they just start anywhere. Don't do that. That's so dangerous, you know, and go back
And
for, uh-huh.
and
Oh, and yes, and dumb as hell. It's so stupid. So I learned a lot in elementary school. I didn't take for granted. A lot of people did. Some of y'all are really just have to go back to your fundamental skills and see what, especially reading comprehension, because a lot of y'all, my goodness, did not grasp the reading comprehension part of school. Really read things for what they are. Learn to read in between the lines. And I'm not going to say throw away all your posters and things like that, but just stop worshiping them. Stop putting these people up on these pedestals that you don't know, because you don't know them. If you felt so strongly to get a complete stranger tattooed on you, like I said, I don't know what to do about that, but stop putting them on this pedestal, okay? Because you don't know them. Most of these celebrities are actors. They have pseudonyms and they are paid to do the things that they do. So they could have a whole fabricated personality, and here you are attached to them over here doing their whole birth chart when their birthday might not even be really their birthday. So let all that stuff go and learn within. Look about yourself and look at prehistory too. Anything where they're talking about prehistory or the monolithic area where they're talking down on it, that's where a lot of your meaty information is.
That was a lot. Hope you niggas wrote that down. Yeah, I definitely agree. Starting with self. Don't wait for your elders to be ancestors before you talk to them. Because one, that's rude as fuck.
For sure.
Two, I don't know. Somebody waited for me to die for them to talk to me. I'm raising all kinds of hell. Fucking think this is. And then also learn your family history from your family while they're still here. I'm not going to say most families have an historian, but I did. I found out, my roots, where I come from. And honestly, some of this shit was like, whoa. I'm glad, my wife wasn't there. Shit was bugged out. And the other parts I was really proud of. But at the end of the day, I knew that was my history, And even thinking about, the Black leaders that were told to revere, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, my nigga MLK, and I'm not taking anything away from their accomplishments, but I mean, there's people in your family that have made contributions as well, that have helped put you in a path where you didn't have to go through what they went through, like directly. So, I mean, I'm not saying, you grind at these niggas too, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, building an altar and, cutting a cockroach or some shit like that. You don't gotta do nothing like that. But I would say honor them by how you live your life. You know what I'm saying? Understand that, you're standing on the shoulders of giants. You need to make something happen. Mediocrity is a choice, especially in America. If you watch from overseas, I don't know to tell your ass, like, just duck. Zigzag, my nigga. But over here in America, where we have a choice to, be oppressed or not, we have big things to do. So I think I'm done. Yeah, I think I might be done. This is a dead topic. All right. So Hope, if anyone wanted to find you, where can they find you at?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter, Hope You Smile. And if you are in need of any birthing services, manifestsofhope.com.
Yeah, she deals with coming in, not going out.
Yes.
You can find me. You found me at. Make sure you like, subscribe, cancel. It is what it is. Just don't look through my browser history. I'm playing. All right.